This is the Parra podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Parramatta Leagues Club, home of the Eels, and also home of Jack's Pale Ale.
Welcome to another episode of the Parra Cave podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Parra Cave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Parra Cave podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is the round number 12 NRL review podcast, and only the 5 games this week, and wasn't it a tipper's nightmare, as most of the upsets got up the victories this weekend in a Origin-affected round. And when I say Origin-affected, I mean there was only 5 games instead of the usual 8, with many teams having the bye this weekend. And look, Origin-affected as well, with debutants playing in different games and young players playing in sides. And look, there's always has the conversation about this Origin period and whether it damages the NRL games each and every week during that period. And look, I have the thought that it obviously does affect the NRL clubs, right? But the way I look at it is it gives opportunity to those players who don't necessarily play a lot of first grade to get a little bit of a taste of first grade and play first grade during this period while they're covering for their representative stars. So I don't mind it. As we saw over the weekend, we saw over a few games anyway, we saw some debutants play their first NRL games and get tries as well, which is great to see. So, that is something that these players have been working pretty much all their young adult life to try and play first grade. And I just think that's a great little opportunity for these sort of players. So, look, whilst it's probably not your club's strongest teams that are running out, it gives these young guys an opportunity. And we did see these upsets happen across the weekend. Now, it all started with the upset of the Dolphins beating the Bulldogs 44 points to 8 at a core stadium. Now, the conditions there were terrible. It was absolutely raining left, right and centre. It was very slippery conditions, on the field. And look, they are conditions that you love playing rugby league in, but they are very tough conditions to play in. There was only 10,412. They braved the rain there. It was a 7-1 victory over the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs sitting on top of the ladder. They still are sitting on top of the ladder even with that loss. So, look, they will obviously take a lot out of that. I think they got a bit of a Cameron Ciraldo spray at full time about that game, and probably rightfully so, because that was their worst game of the season, going down 44 points to 8. Many people tipped the Bulldogs to win, even though they did have Stephen Crichton, Max King out, Kurt Mann as well. The Dolphins, they had the hammer out for them, their best player. So the Bulldogs, most of the fans were thinking that the Bulldogs would get the victory despite those players being out, but it wasn't to be. Jermaine Asako, he opened up the scoring for the Dolphins. Herbie Farmworth, he got another try as well. Now, I think there was a little story going around about Herbie. I think he was in hospital with I think it was some sort of leg infection or something, either the day before or the day of the game, and he got down to Sydney late and managed to play the game, scored a try as well. Kurt Donahue, now, massive story about him. He suffered I think it was a broken nose during the game, and managed to come back on and score a try in the 78th minute. So I don't know how painful a broken nose is because I've never had one, fortunately. But to play first grade rugby league and have a broken nose, wow, pretty tough, I reckon. But he scored a try, also had a penalty against him as well for a late tackle, I think it was. But look, I think it all happened so fast anyway, so I would have been happy for it not to be a penalty, but it was. But it didn't change the course of the game. Look, it was only 14-8 at half-time, and you still thought that potentially the Bulldogs might come out after half-time, and they would have had to have needed to get that first try and get the victory. But the Dolphins, they got the first try the second half, and then they just went on with it. Then there was that 10-minute period before the end of the game where they really blew out the scoreline. Francis Molo, Jake Averillo, and that man Kurt Donahue scored tries 73, 76, 78th minute. So they really blew out the score. Would have been interesting how the Bulldogs fans would have reacted if it got to 50, because of that old adage about the teams who have 50 points scored against them in the regular competition can't go on to win the competition. That would have been interesting what they would have said. But a bit of soul searching for the Bulldogs. They have the bye this weekend, so 2 weeks of most likely hard training and a bit of soul searching as well. The next game on Friday night, only the one game, was the game that I was at, Parramatta versus the Sea Eagles. Now, if you want to know more about this game, check out the game day review of this game. The podcast is out now. But it was a great victory to the Parramatta Eels. They had their two best players, Mitchell Moses and Zach Lomax, out of this game. I think Parramatta have now won their last 6 out of 7 games against the Sea Eagles at CommBank Stadium. So a pretty impressive record there. It was a 5-2 win and a real confidence-boosting win for them, especially without those 2 stars. Manly, they also had a couple of players out as well, but they still had some quality players like your Turbo, Tom Travojevic and Hamoli Olakawatu as well. So they struggled a little bit, especially Tommy. He's really struggling at the moment. I do not know what it is, whether his injuries are in the back of his mind and he's worried about suffering them again, but I'm not too sure about that one. But just seemed to really struggle on Friday night, and it has been in the last couple of weeks. But a great confidence-boosting win for the Parramatta Eels. Congratulations to Junior Paulo once again, 250th game on Friday, and also Joash Papali as well. One of those debutants that I spoke about who scored tries as well, scored a try on debut as well, so congratulations to him. The next game on the Saturday, 2 games on the Saturday, and boy, wasn't this turn up for the books. Newcastle, 25 points to 6, getting the victory out there at Carrington Park in Bathurst. A good, healthy country crowd of 12,000 attended this game, and look, Dylan Lucas, he wasn't either the star of the show. 3 tries, 9 minutes, 9th minute, 11th minute, and the 23rd minute. It could have been 4 tries, but unfortunately he dropped the ball across the line when putting it down in the corner. Could have been 4 tries, but I think it is the 3rd time from memory, and also I was on social media as well. The Knighted podcast, he also did let everybody know about this one. The 3rd time in history that a Newcastle forward has scored more points than the Penrith Panthers. The Newcastle Knights second rower, Dylan Lucas, scoring 12 points there. The Panthers only scoring 6 in the whole game. So Harrison Hassett, he scored the try for Penrith, another debutant coming through the systems there at Penrith, and one of these other players that is playing first grade rugby league due to Origin as well. The Panthers having 5 players out of their regular side representing New South Wales. So he got a try on debut. Congratulations to him. Fletcher Sharp as well. He moved back to the fullback position for Newcastle, having been playing 5'8" for the entire season, basically. But moved back to fullback for this game with Kalen Ponga out with Queensland duties, but had a wow of a game as well. Dane Gagai, 4 from 4 with the boot. He won his 301st NRL game. Didn't get his win last week against Parramatta in his 300th, but he got his 301st game win. 24-0 at half time, so Newcastle really dominated in that first half and set up the victory there. Probably a little bit concerning they didn't score any points except for the field goal to Jack Cogger in the second half, but look, Penrith were never in the game. They just couldn't answer Newcastle, and Dylan Lucas, once again, as I said, had a field day. The second game on the Saturday was another upset, you could say. Probably not to Roosters fans, but this game being played up at Gosford as well in front of a pretty healthy crowd of 13,399. And look, pretty much a full-strength Sharks side taking on the depleted Roosters side. And when I say depleted, I mean on origin duty for New South Wales and Queensland. Most notably, I guess, Angus Crichton, Connor Watson, Spencer Leniu as well. I think Lindsay Collins for Queensland. So they had a lot of players out, a lot of experience out, and they had a couple of debutants start in their sole play in this game by Benaya Iulu started at hooker, and also there was one off the bench as well, Xavier Va'a, who scored a try as well on debut. He had a couple of moments there. I think he scored his try on his second touch of the ball, I think it was, and then the kickoff from scoring that try just had a little bit of a moment, the poor young man. Some were saying that James Tedesco should have been back there to catch the ball, but look, doesn't matter. He scored the try on debut. But the Roosters, 42 points to 16 against a pretty much full-strength Sharks side. Daniel Tupou scored a double, and look, pretty much his first try. Wasn't that an amazing effort? Just basically jumped over the top of Sam Stone Street and got the ball down, and why wouldn't you be kicking over there all the time for someone like Daniel, who is approaching his 300th game, slowly but surely. I think he is the Roosters' leading ever try scorer. He's one of the leading try scorers in the competition as well. Just getting up there as well. As I mentioned, Xavier Va'a got a try in the 54th minute. James Tedesco, Dom Young, Hugo Savala, as well as Mark Nawanga-Nitawase. He got a try as well. Sandon Smith, 6 from 7 conversions and also 1 penalty goal. 20 points to 6 at halftime. The Roosters were always in control of this game. Victor Radley played his 150th NRL game. Congratulations to him as well. A premiership winner with the Roosters. And the Sharks, look, where do they go from here? I mean, they were probably favourites going into this game. As I said, a full-strength side. They would have liked their chances against the Roosters, but it just wasn't to be. And I think probably a little bit concerning for the Sharks. They had a great victory against the Melbourne Storm the week before. That was at Shark Park. And this probably would have been a game they thought that they could get a victory as well. I mean, I know every game in the NRL is tough, but playing a depleted Roosters side with a near full-strength Sharks side, you would have thought they would have had a really good chance of winning this game. and they probably would have penciled this in, not necessarily as a victory, but a good chance of winning this game. This could be, they've shown that they can beat the top sides, but the sort of lesser sides they struggle against, and a little bit concerning for the Sharks. The last game of the round was over there in New Zealand with two of the form teams of the competition at the moment, the Warriors and the Raiders. The Raiders got the win 16 points to 10. It was a late try to Jamal Fogarty, who pretty much sprinted, I think it was about 30 metres or something, to get the try for the Raiders. He also converted that try. Little bit of, I guess you could say, towards the end of the game, Charles Nickel-Clockstar got sin bin in the 58th minute for the Warriors. Tom Starling in the 77th minute. Now, they may find themselves in a little bit of trouble. Corey Horsburgh at the start of the game, 27th minute, got sin bin as well. 8-8 at half-time. It was still anybody's game. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck got the try in the 23rd minute to get the scoring underway. Luke Metcalf, he kicked the goal and then also kicked 2 penalty goals. 10 points to 8. I thought that the Warriors may just hang on to win this one, but a simple offload to Jamal Fogarty, and he just sprinted away. And the Warriors, they had a few opportunities towards the end of that game, but just could not ice it, just could not get it into Golden Point, and unfortunately went down at home. The first time they played at Go Media Stadium in a while. So, look, not too concerning for the Warriors. You would think, obviously they would have liked to have won the game, but the Raiders, look, they're just sneaking under, I guess, everyone's radar. I guess a lot of people, including myself, had them down the bottom of the table this year, even winning the wooden spoon, but they have just gone about their business and have got these close matches. They've got the victories there, and they're just winning games, and that is what you want. I think it was their 9th win of the season, or 8th or 9th win of the season. They beat the Warriors over in Las Vegas way at the start of the year, and they got this one. So they are travelling quite well at the moment. Now, to the judiciary report has just come out for the week, and that will affect, obviously, next week's game. Tom Starling, as I said, he got sin bin in that game against the Warriors. He has been charged with a grade 2 dangerous contact tackle for a tackle on Chanel Harris-Tavita. It was a kick. I think it was deemed to be late and high. Also charged in that game, Raiders captain Joe Tarpany, grade 1 shoulder charge. He will only get a $3,000 fine with an early plea, which I think he will take, or he can risk a 1-match ban, and if he's found guilty by the judiciary. Corey Horsburgh, who I mentioned was sin binned in that game as well, is also charged with a grade 1 dangerous tackle on Murata Niokore, and faces an $1,800 fine as it is his second offence. Warriors forward Jacob Laban was given a $1,000 fine, grade 1 dangerous contact. Ronaldo Mulatalo and Liam Henry, he got a sin bin in that game as well against Newcastle. But Ronaldo, he was charged with a grade 2 dangerous contact tackle for his tackle on Mark Nawanga-Nictawase as he passed the ball in the lead up to a try by Hugo Savala. Look, he will sit out 1 game for an early plea, or if he challenges it at the judiciary and a guilty verdict, he will get 2 games. So I dare think that he will take the 1-match early suspension there. Liam Henry from the Panthers faces a 2-match ban for a grade 2 crusher tackle on Fletcher Sharp. Hamoli Olakawatu has also been charged with contrary conduct. He was released from the Blues camp. He'll go back into Blues camp. He was the 19th man, I think it was. He'll go back into camp with New South Wales, but it was a grade 1 charge, and apparently it was on Luca Moretti, dropped his knee into the Eels prop chest as he tried to get to his feet. So with the early guilty plea, he'll be fined $1,800, but should he fight the charge and be found guilty, he will increase to $2,500. Josh Curran, who just returned from suspension, a 3-match suspension, has been charged with a grade 1 careless high tackle. He's facing a $3,000 fine. Kurt Donahue as well, the player who had the broken nose in that game, grade 1 dangerous contact with that tackle on Toby Sexton in the 60th minute. He will face a $1,000 fine if should he plead an early guilty plea. So a few charges there in the week that was. If we go to the ladder now, and the Bulldogs still sit on top in first on 20 points. The Warriors on 18 points. The Raiders just jumping the Warriors into second spot there. The Warriors down to third. The Storm in 16th spot. Fourth spot on 16 points. They are your top 4. Outside the top 4 on 14 points are the Sharks and Rabbitohs. The Cowboys in 13th, in 7th. The Broncos round out the top 8 on 12 points, just having a better for and against than the Sea Eagles, Dragons, Roosters, and the Tigers as well, who are in 12th spot, all on 12 points. The Dolphins, they jump up to 13th with that win over the Bulldogs on 10 points. The Newcastle Knights jump up to 14th after that win against the Panthers, and the Eels on 10 points are in 15th. The Titans also on 10 points in 16th, and the Premiers round out the table in 17th spot on 9 points. So, looking towards next week, and there is some cracking games that we will go through in the tipping podcast, but back to 8 games this week. It is, 7 games this week, with obviously State of Origin on Wednesday night for the men, and also State of Origin game number 3 for the women on Thursday night as well. Let's watch that one at McDonald Jones Stadium, and hopefully the Blues can get a victory. The Blues women's side can get a victory and a clean sweep of the State of Origin side. But looking towards next week, just quickly, go through more of this in detail in the tipping podcast, which will come out later this week. Dragons and Knights on the Friday. On the Saturday, 3 games: Titans, Storm, Cowboys, Tigers, Sea Eagles, Broncos. On the Sunday, 3 games: Rabbitohs, Warriors, Panthers, Eels, Roosters, Raiders. So some cracking games on the Sunday there: Panthers, Eels, Roosters, Raiders. They'll be cracking ones there. Now, for the buys this week, 3 teams: the Bulldogs, Dolphins and Sharks have the bye this weekend. Look, thank you very much for listening to this round 12 review of the NRL. Some major upsets this weekend. I think someone posted on social media that this season there has been 41 out of 93 games that have been upset victories. So almost half of the games being played are won by the underdogs. So good luck with your tipping for this week. Who knows what you'll get? Who knows what I'll get? Maybe I should tip some upsets here and there, because that looks like there is a little bit of a trend each and every week. There is 1 or 2 upsets. So which upsets am I going to tip this week? Well, you just have to stay tuned for the tipping podcast. But look, I hope you really enjoyed your footy this week. Look, last week. Enjoy your footy this week. That's coming up, and especially State of Origin as well on Wednesday night. Cannot wait for game number 1. Go the Blues. I'll try and do a game preview of that one soon as well, so stay tuned for that one. Thank you very much for listening to this. You guys know the drill. Share it with your family and friends. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. I'd really appreciate that one. And look, the Parra Cave podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Parra! How you going, mate? Are you a Parra Cave podcast listener?
I am, bro. It's a great podcast. Everyone tune in.
Go Parra!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parra Cave Podcast. See you next time.